Fortunately, Jodo had to leave us. I guess something terribly exciting must have happened, but we're going to keep his picture nearby just to remind us about the importance of Christmas or something. And with me is the champion himself. Two-time champion now, I believe.
3 times.
Oh, is it 3?
Yep.
Oh, so you joined the Threes Club. Very well done. And once again with very exciting decks. So let's see. Not all of them were new. Certainly we've seen the embodied combo. So yeah, Jodo and I had this question. So you know how the chieftain sacks himself and draws a card. Does he also draw a card if he just sacks some other creature?
Only if you. It works kind of weird. It's technically a bug that it's like draws a card on self-draw. I mean, we've had that discussion before, where it's like, is it like it's a bug, but is it really worth fixing because it makes the card play? But yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like it's actually, but so you could argue that it shouldn't work like that at all. That it's not supposed to, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I believe at some point I've made a question that you just change the text of the card so it works the way it actually works with the self-draw, like with the self-sacrifice draw.
But then it should also draw if you just sack anything, because it's still the same mechanic.
Like, well, you could just have in the text of a card sacrifice chieftain and draw a card, right?
I see what you mean, like specifically that.
Yeah. So that only that option works, because if it always draws a card when it sacks a creature, that's probably a little bit too good.
Yeah, sack 2 like zombies, draw 2 cards off of him.
Yeah.
Alright, okay, that's fair. So we've seen that deck, and it definitely rumbled quite a bit. Sudden 10 damage, unstoppable. But we also saw some other things. That Knight deck was frighteningly efficient at mopping up opponents.
Yep.
And the only new card seemed to be the Occult Knight, right?
Yep. Knights was always like almost, but it was always like tier 2, I think. But the Occult Knight is really what pushes Knights over the top with like because you have 2 mana 2-level card proactively, unlike CFC as well, obviously. Didn't have before.
So I gotta ask, does this deck also run Dread Knight? Because I think Lyris was running a deck like this too, and he had Dread Knight.
Mm-hmm.
So did your deck have Dread Knight? Hello? Oh, you're thinking? I thought you like disconnected or something.
More. So try and
Oh, right.
I think am I?
You're breaking up a little bit. I'm not sure why.
Oh, that's weird. I don't think I have anything. Maybe if I close the client or something. I don't know. Maybe it's my connection. How's it now?
It seems to be a little bit smoother.
Okay. Probably me then. But yeah, what were we talking about?
Well, your next deck, the Knights.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, it is pretty good, especially if your opponent doesn't know exactly how the deck works, right? Or I mean, most people know how Harmeleon deck works, but if you don't have experience playing against it, it can definitely surprise you, the damage output, right?
Oh yeah, the question I had was also, did your deck run Dread Knight?
No.
Okay, because you ran Triangelica Sentinel instead of Dread Knight.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think you ever want to play both of them, and the way I see it, you kind of want to have high speed creatures, right? Like at least 2 speed, so you can put them at 3 speed with CFC. And Dread Knight kind of has a very different way of playing, where it's more about board control.
Well, he's more like a bulldozer.
Yeah. Like, you can always kind of block the Dread Knight, unless there's, like, double CFC involved.
Well, I mean, the fact that they need 2 creatures against it is a bit tough. And he's so big also, a 6/6.
Yeah, but normally with the deck, you don't really want your opponent to be blocking at all, because everything's like 3 speed or higher with CFC. So you want your big your big target for what's his face, the knight dude. Like, I'm blanking out on the name. What?
There is one other card that synergizes with Knights, Solemn Prayer. Was that considered at all in the deck building?
No, I don't think that's good enough. I think you need to just smork.
Yeah, although it is +1. Is it +1/+1 to all Knights for the turn?
I don't know. I'd have to look that up. Is it +1/+1 or is it the Shield Emblem one? There's one for priests and one for knights, right?
I believe the priests get the shield.
Okay. Yeah, but still, like, you don't really want to go wide though with your attack. You want to make one huge creature, right?
Okay, yeah, I see. Okay, so there weren't very many spells. You had Instill and the Insignia, right? Well, did you have anything like Primal Battle?
I had Cleanse, I believe, 2 copies. And that's basically it. And then you've got Dwarves, right, for stupefying things.
Can help, yeah. And did you run both the 1-drops or just the what's it called, Sentry of the Light?
4 sentries and then 2 of the 1/1s.
The soldiers.
Just so I'm more likely to get the 1-drop on turn 1.
Okay. So yeah, the deck was pretty solid. Even though the only knight synergy is Namir, but Namir is very powerful.
Yeah. Well, there's the artifact as well that draws your knights as soldiers.
Well, but that's not specifically knights; it's just knights and soldiers. But yeah, that certainly seems to have put in quite a bit of work. Yeah,
and it helps you find Namir, which is all the knight synergy you really need.
Well, I mean, yeah, like +5/+5 for 1 mana. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, especially with her melee on hero power. It's like 10 damage.
Yeah, it could just be like lethal with 1 creature on the board. Okay, so that brings us to the last deck, the Coronis, I don't know, target emblem thing?
Well, yeah, it kind of started as a target emblem deck and then turned into more of a smork deck.
Yeah, like we didn't see much of it, so I don't know what was in it. I assume Malvina was in it.
Yeah, of course. And of course, Satyr, because that card is broken.
It's a good 1-drop.
Well, I mean, I see it more as a 2-drop than a 1-drop, really, because you never really want to play it on the board on its own. All right, you always want to play it and immediately activate it, which costs 2 mana.
What about Shazam? Oh no, that you wouldn't have any way to play it because that has to be a opponent.
Yeah. I used to have that card actually in like the early version of the deck, and that was like a 3 level version. So you just have the 3rd rage level or 2nd rage level at the end to play him, but it didn't seem necessary.
Yeah, probably not. So yeah,
but yeah,
did you have the
basically just
All Right of the Hunt?
No. I didn't actually try the card out that much, but it just doesn't feel that good to me. And it doesn't really fit the deck either, because like 4 mana for removal in an aggro deck. And like the biggest problem I have with the card is that you need to realistically be able to put a target emblem down and play that card in the same turn. And unless you already have something like Malvina or the Satyr on the board, in which case you're probably already winning anyway, you can't easily do that for cheap. So the cheapest you can do it is play Satyr, use the ability, and then play the Alright, but that's already 6 mana, which is pretty expensive. So I'm not that much of a fan of that card. I was basically just trying to like use the best possible target emblem cards, and other than that, just good cards, good smart cards.
Yeah, certainly. We were discussing with Jodo how if you play the Wilderness Guardian to Malvina, that's just absolutely
Yeah,
insane.
that is disgusting.
But
Really good curve.
could that fit into your deck? I don't know. I don't remember how many rage creatures you had.
Yeah, I did have Wilderness Guardian.
Oh, okay, that works. Three or
Basically all
four?
rage creatures. Like outside of outside of the ravens, basically everything you play is a rage creature, technically.
So why Coronis and not, let's say, anything else?
Uh, I don't want to put 3 drops in my deck. It's basically just you always have a 3 drop, right? When you're playing aggressively. It's just the other options don't seem that good.
Oh,
I
I
don't
see.
really like Despina that much. It's just too janky and expensive to get the combo off, and it's useless against control.
Well, for Despino, you have to commit to the target emblem theme. Like, if you're just running
Yeah.
Satyr and Malvina, that's not gonna be enough.
Well, I mean, I was playing the enchantment that gives you deadly.
Yeah, I saw that too. It's like, what is this madman doing?
Well, it is really good with Satyr. Like it is insane with
Well,
that
yeah,
card.
just like putting it on. Gosh, I forgot. The goblin that deals 1 damage is really funny. In limited, it's just like brutal.
Yeah, you can also use it with like hounds and stuff. Basically anything you can use the Despina hero power on. But it's
Yeah,
just
that's certainly a very decent way to get most of the value while still keeping a good hero power around.
but the difference is that this doesn't cost you a card, right? Because when the creature dies, it goes back into your hand. You DO it away, and whereas with Despina hero power, you don't really get any additional value. But Coronas gives you basically cards
Yeah,
as
and
long
a
as you're playing
2/2 flying
aggressively.
raven with lifebound. That's kind of like a
Yeah.
fair 3 drop, I guess.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. So I think I feel like your version might actually be just the way that type of deck is played. Is there any way to use Jokri in it, or did you have that?
Yeah, I had Jokri.
Okay.
Like it's basically I had Jokri, Mavina, and Satyr, I believe, the only target emblem related cards. Uh, but yeah, Jokri is also just solid, like
Yeah, if you
3/4 of
it,
3 that just buffs your other
yeah, if
units.
you're just buffing yourself, because he doesn't work with most of the other target emblem cards because you don't want to buff
Yeah.
their stuff
Well, actually, I did use them once offensively,
to make everything
where
a slave.
yeah, exactly, because you can also do that pretty well with like Mavina and Satyr, right? Because of the 1 mana repeatable target emblem ability, so you can just put a target emblem on everything the opponent controls, and you just go face.
Yeah, but that's gonna be
Yeah.
more of a side thing because like if your opponent has 2 creatures and you do that, if they just play 2 creatures, well then you just gave them +2
Oh,
+2 for free.
you use it to get lethal, right? You
Well,
just use it
that's
when
what
you
I mean
can
by it's
ignore the
just
board.
a side thing, like a little thing
Yeah.
on the side. It's not the main idea. Whereas a lot of the other target emblem cards want to put emblems on the other creatures, but your deck just went a different way.
Mhm.
Now, what about stuff like, say, Overcharger? Is it just too much?
I mean, it's hard to fit in. Like there are a lot of cards that you could kind of fit in. I'm not even convinced that my list is like the best possible one, but I think it's possible. I was actually thinking, so that's a deck that I didn't have time to try out yet, but I was thinking about something with the Winter Scout and implants, because if you have Rage and you attack face, you just get to keep buffing the Winter Scout, right? So you make up for the downside of the implant. Uh, or if you could play Wisdom, you can attack face, and then as the weakness emblems come on, you can spend 1 mana to turn the weakness emblem into a freeze, right?
Hmm. Oh,
So
yeah. Because I didn't even
th-
consider there's
that,
any
that's
emblem to
kind of an
turn a weakness
interesting
into.
card with implants, but I haven't actually tried if that works properly or not.
Hmm.
Also, I wouldn't want to play Winter Scout on ladder because Satyr is just
Oh, yeah.
really annoying for anything with 1 HP.
Yeah, that's the new gold standard for 1 drops.
Yeah. I do think he's going to get nerfed, though. At least it's to some degree, because he's just insane.
I mean, what would you think you could do with it without making it trash?
I did have a suggestion for that in the Discord somewhere. Maybe I can find it again. Why is there so much shit on here? Here it is, I think. Right, yeah. So you increase the mana cost to 2. You make the ability rather than 1 mana repeatable thing 1 time when he enters the board. So basically, when he enters the board, it's like he works currently. You just get 1 target emblem, right? And you can only use him once. So he's still really good, but he doesn't snowball super hard anymore, right? Because unless you play more target emblem cards, you can't reactivate him over and over and over again. That does mean, though, that another target emblem card needs that ability. Otherwise, target emblems get trashed.
Or like repeatedly putting target emblems on something?
Yeah.
Well,
So the 1
I
mana.
always thought what the target emblems need is like a really big payoff card, like some kind of a legendary that just, let's say, collects all target emblems on the board and, like, I don't know, summons like a 3/3 for each one or something like that.
The problem with that is it's really bad against control. Like, how often do you have a board where it's just a huge amount of target emblems? It's just really hard.
What would you get for target emblems then? Like, how does target emblem? How can target emblems ever be good against control? They require creatures to work with.
Well, the deck I was playing, I think, has a pretty good chance against control decks.
But that's because you're just being aggressive. Like, it's not because of
Yeah,
target
exactly.
emblems. It's just because you have good cards in your deck.
I don't think you want to. I don't think investing super heavy into target emblems is ever going to be good. It's just something you can also do in your deck if it works. And the new cards are kind of like that, where you don't need that many additional target emblems in the deck. So,
What did you run the Goblin Boar Rider? That just seems
no.
like it's like a solid 3-drop, target emblem or not.
Oh, yeah, but I'm playing.
Oh yeah, you have Coronas. There's your 3-drops.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I gotta say, when I saw your decks, it's like, I really hope Torek wins. I always want the Masters to be won by interesting decks like this. Like these kind of mid-rangey / aggressive-y, like, fancy decks with some cool tricks, like the Chieftain. And not stuff like 1-turn heal. Or even Mono D can be really kind of blah sometimes. Even though the mirror of Mono D is actually somewhat interesting because of their interactions.
There has been a lot less control though in this Masters, right?
Oh yeah, this was
like I've seen
a
lot of
because,
aggro decks.
Between Malvina and Satyr already encourage more aggressive play, and so does Green Dragon, for instance.
Yeah,
like
that card's also pretty good.
Also got a nice few toys, but specifically it seems Kayano.
Yeah,
the dragon, I mean. Though playing it is a bit clunky, so we were talking with Joe, like, do you use Trigon, or do you maybe even just go 3 levels and then just run some bigger cards?
So the way you do it is you use the dual land, right? Eventually you go 3 levels, but if you get the dragon on curve, you can go double nature, play the dragon under Kainu, and then switch. Exactly. And then you play Namir's Blessing on the dragon. And then Rage Rush just cries because they can't deal with it.
Oh yeah, especially if you use the Symbol of Faith. That's just LOL funny.
Yeah.
Not as funny as when Trent does it. Trent just literally just stomps on their hopes and dreams when you use that and then Primal Battle and then hit face.
Like that card actually made Kainu so much better. Because beforehand, you didn't have a flyer that you could put under Kainu in nature order, right? Like a 3-mana 2-level flyer. Good. What, is there one?
Well,
like another one in that color combination?
Empress of the Forest.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay. Yeah, sure, whatever.
I mean, like a good one.
Yeah. But yeah, like having a flyer that you can play in that deck helps so much in getting board control back. after your Kaino turn,
Oh yeah, because they can't attack
because
it.
you just put Namir's Blessing on, and what are they gonna do? Like, you can't attack into it. You don't even need to use a 2 mana ability because you can't interact with it anyway. You can just attack with it. Like, it's so big at that point, you can't kill it, right?
So do you
Or you
just use
can't.
Namirs, or do you go for the full package, like including the priest and maybe a few mantles of the wind?
Yeah, I think I was just playing the priests and the mantle, or like 1 or 2 mantles or something.
Because I mean, if you
Yeah.
also have Felix, it goes really well with the mantle because he becomes just untargetable all the time.
Yeah, you could do that. Felix is always kind of weird because of Harpy existing, and if you get
Oh,
your Felix Harpy, then
that's womp womp.
yeah, feels really bad.
But then, if you're playing against Harpy, then you also have the Essence, which destroys corruption completely. Like, you can't sacrifice anything, that means Harpy is useless.
Yeah, but do you want to put that card into your deck? I don't know.
I mean,
I don't like that card. It's just,
we've
it's
seen
good
it work
against
pretty
corruption.
well. Like, because the benefits you're going to have, putting extra emblems on stuff like Bar Convoy or even Dragon can have some effects. Can be useful.
Yeah, but, I don't know.
I mean, I can
I
see
never
why
liked
you're
that card.
queasy about it because it just feels kind of underwhelming. Like, I mean, it's just like 2 Might Emblems kind of slowly for 2 turns, for 2 mana.
Yeah,
You have better things to
especially
do.
the turn you play it, it's nothing.
Yeah.
And Kainu deck already, like Kainu already has a turn where he does nothing, right?
Yes.
When you use the hero power, it's just, I don't know.
I've always liked this deck because there's a lot of leeway for how you build it. Like between the
Mm.
blessings package, between the spore package. Like if you're playing the spore package, I wonder if Wilderness Guardian becomes interesting because Spore Shepherd puts 3 creatures into play immediately.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about not specifically that. I actually wanted to try out the Nature Corruption Shamans deck. That is super inconsistent, but really fun when it works. That
Nature
can put
Corruption
like,
Shamans. How does that
yeah,
work?
you use sprouting totems basically,
Oh,
and
okay.
you make a huge board of plants because you get like 4 plants for 1 mana,
Oh,
and then you
you
play
even
them.
run Vegetation Blockade?
No, I don't think so. It's just you draw sprouting totems or you lose. Basically, is the
Oh.
idea.
Wow.
And then you have the nature shaman that can immediately return the sprouting totem because he has 1 energy and sprouting is 1 mana.
Right, right. And each time he gets 2 sprouting totems for each shaman? Or is it just 1?
You get 2 shooting sprouts, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
So you
how
can
do you
go
buff them?
super
I mean,
wide.
besides symbol.
Enoch hero power.
Oh,
And
you run
obviously
Enoch.
Spore
Okay.
Shepherd. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can see you have a 10 plants, Enoch. Whoops. plus 2, plus 20 damage.
Yeah. So I was considering playing the Guardian in that deck, but I didn't get a single game with it. So yeah, I don't know if it's good or better than the normal version, which already isn't that good.
But no, Guardian in the other one, the Kayano is what I was thinking.
Yeah, yeah, that's. I mean, you could. Mm, I guess, yeah. If you're going with a nature start, it's probably playable, and with the Spore Shepherds. But do you want to go with Spore Shepherds with nature start though? Because then you don't have the little 0/1 knights to sack. Mm, maybe.
I mean, you're already gonna open Satyr, or have the option to if you want to. For 2 drops, I don't know if you like play
Yeah.
against Silverfang or something. But yeah, I can see for
I
2 drops because you already want to play Innkeeper, right? That's already a really good one.
well, I personally prefer the nature start, but the problem is that the what do you call that card? The Spore Shepherd is worse if you don't have good targets for it. And in the order start, you have the 0/1 knight to sack with it, right? And you
Yes.
don't really want to sacrifice like um, a satyr for it, right? Or an elf warrior or something.
Yeah, probably not. I don't know. This I'm not sure which version is the best. I think it depends. Though
Also, obviously, you have a shit ton of 3-mana 2-level cards that you want in that deck.
Well, I mean, you're already pretty full with Tren, Diogen, and the Dragon. Like,
Yeah.
you can't really fit any more than that. That's already 12.
And then you need to fit Spore Shepherd, and then you need to fit the Guardian. And the Guardian isn't not a Kaino target, which makes him worse.
Yeah, maybe it is trying to do a little bit too much in the deck.
Yeah.
But the sport package in general has some. I think if you do run it, you might not be able to run Dragon, or you might have to cut something because you need room for Symbol of Growth as well. Because that's the whole point, is that symbol on a plant is +6/+2 with Unstoppable.
Yep. I mean, maybe you don't even play Kainu with that. Maybe you just play a different Spore Shepherd deck. Like, actually, a Crab deck could work pretty well with it, because the crabs return and trigger the Guardian every time.
Basically, hate bears with sculptors and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like crabs and Spore Shepherds and all that nonsense.
If you start with nature, what's like the best start if you go nature? Like Satyr/Elf Scout, which I don't even know if I want to run. But what do we have on 2?
Well, Silverfang, Elf Warrior, whatever.
Because what I'd really like to sack with Shepherd is like Infected Survivor.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on what start you want. I guess you don't get to start Satyr in that deck then. You would want to probably start Corruption. But maybe you play Satyr anyway, because card is pretty stupid.
Okay.
If a 1-drop is so good that you use Call of July to pull it, it's too good.
Maybe for nerfing him, just remove his growing ability. Like, does he really need that?
Well, actually, now that I think about it, if we take the suggestion that I had, he's 2 mana, which means you also can't pull him back with Diogen, which is relevant.
Oh yeah.
So that's interesting.
Oh yeah, Diogen got another nice target.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because, Cleanse and Primal Battle and Symbol of Faith wasn't enough. Oh, man. Symbol of Faith is a card that's fit surprisingly well into the deck. Much better than I originally expected. It's something I've considered, but it's like, man, it's really, can really destroy aggro because you just heal so much.
I mean, it's just one of the few ways you can actually heal right now. Like, cards that are actually good and playable.
And it's a nice combat.
Not dead against control. Yeah, it's not dead. It's not dead against control, unlike other healing cards would be, because you still get the opportunity or the Pegasus Brigade version, right?
You don't get very many of them, but you can still get some.
Oh. You can get a lot of them actually if you block with the dragon, and then you use that thing, and then you use the dragon ability. Something like that.
Either that, or you want to combine it with the Primal Battle, where you Primal Battle something for full hit.
Yeah.
And then hit the face, and then summon like 10 of them or something. Well, it's never going to be 10, because you have to do 20 damage, basically.
Yeah. Also another card that works very well with the dragon, Primal Battle. Because unlike the ability, it doesn't tap the dragon, and it gets to grow.
It grows it, yeah. Well, I mean, Primal Battle is just insane in that deck in general. Yeah. So I wonder, does Tren still remain a card to put in there? Because it seems like with the dragon on the block, a lot of the time dragon is better than Tren.
Against aggro it is, but against control I would always want Tren.
Oh, because he can block. If you put him at 2, right? Yeah. He blocks a lot of important spells.
And he's just a bigger body on his own, right? Dragon's just a 3/3.
Well, he's only 1/1 less smaller than it.
Oh, yeah, it adds up, and it's harder to remove. Like.
But yeah, I mean, Tren definitely can win games. There's no doubt. So I guess you just run everybody because they're all so good.
Yep, exactly.
So what does the deck run early? Is the only 2-drop the Innkeeper?
Depends if you do nature or order start.
Well, I mean, you're gonna run Innkeeper regardless because it's just so useful.
I don't run Innkeeper in my version of the deck.
Wow,
I think.
Really? That's.
Yeah, just elves and Silverfangs. Yeah, but how good is it on 2 levels?
It's
Like,
still good. Just the stupefying things, instantly killing
and
incarnates, getting rid of
the thing
walls.
is, the thing is with this kind of deck, it's more important to be able to retake board control rather than push your advantage, right? Because you have that Kaino turn where you just don't do anything, basically. So you're almost always going to be behind on the board after that turn, and Innkeeper isn't that good at taking back the board. Higher speed creatures are better at that. Or, flying creatures that are untargetable and yeah.
And I don't think I could seriously make the deck without at least a few innkeepers. It just seems too good, too useful. Even if I'm opening nature, I'd still want, because like I said, you want the 0/1 too, for some Mind Emblem fancy. But maybe no, maybe Satyr is good enough as a start with 2 Elf Scouts or something like that.
Yeah, I think I was playing Satyr with 2 Elf Scouts. But yeah, also the 0/1 is worse with Diogen, obviously, because it already
It
gives you
already
the
has
Might Emblem.
Valor, yeah, okay. Oh wait, the
Yeah,
Satyr can get himself Valor. Oh, that's not fair.
yeah. That's a balanced card. You can play him down, give him +1/+1, use his ability, tap him, make him a 3/3 with ranged. On the turn you play him without any interaction. That's a 1-drop, right?
Yeah, you bet. Good old Joe Gun. Hey, remember when he used to cost 2 mana?
Yeah, you could instill him.
Yep. Was like instill became so insane. You just instill him and like whatever cavalry field captain, and then he just gets you another card.
Hmm.
I mean, in this day and age, when cleanse and primal battle are in the game, it would just be ridiculous levels of value. Because then cavalry field can bump you again to 3/4, and then you just get a primal battle and instantly kill something.
Yep.
Jeez, that's like 4/1. That's ridiculous.
But yeah. Yeah, right. I have the list here. Right, I was playing Life Force Essence actually, and Life Force Incarnate actually in that deck, because you eventually probably go to 3 levels anyway, and you kind of want the draw.
Well, see, that's what I was thinking for going 3 levels at all, is for cards like the Life Force Incarnate, which can get you
Yeah, I
some
mean,
further extra value.
it's not that great, but you kind of need the card draw, and there isn't that much good card draw in Nature Order.
I mean, you've got Namir's Blessing, which redraws. Diogen can redraw, you can bounce him.
Yeah, but yeah.
You can get some value. And what else?
Well, you can, if you get lucky, you get the Sunblessed combo with blessings and stuff,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you get all the cards you want, but you don't always get there.
Yeah, because if you just playing her with Namir's Blessing is really good, because Namir's basically goes 0 and draws 2 cards.
Yeah, 3 mana, draw 2 cards, make one thing unblockable, untargetable, and get a 2/3. It's pretty good card.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's another target for Kayano. Oh, man. It's starting to get really crowded there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, if anyone plays the Kainu deck, if you use the dual shrine to get level 1 and level 2, and then use Spark to spark out Diogen, you don't get to draw a card, because you don't have shrines in your graveyard, by the way. So don't make that mistake. I've made that like twice.
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, if you play two of the resource shrines?
Sunblessed Fields, yeah. If you play 2 of those on turn 1 and 2, you don't have shrines in your graveyard,
Right.
so you don't get to draw a shrine with Diogen.
So you'd have to sack one of them deliberately.
Well, yeah, or you just play a normal shrine to level up with.
Long live Satyr. Yeah.
Satyr, our Lord and Savior.
It's made an impact for sure. Yeah, we had a nice. I think this was a good Masters. Definitely, I think more in the direction of we were hoping for, just more mid-rangey games, aggressive
Yeah.
mid-rangey games, where there's more creature combat going on.
more fun than the last one to watch, I think. With mono Dominion mirrors and one turn heal
Oh my god.
and mono corruption.
Mono Dominion mirrors aren't that bad, but one turn heal, ugh, yeah, that's terrible. Don't even get me started. I've been a long time hater of one turn heal. I will freely admit this. I mean, everybody knows this by now. They haven't
Yeah.
they haven't heard me say it. I just don't like that you instantly win with life. That's my main. I have the same problem with running out of cards in your deck. You just instantly lose. It's a bit anticlimactic.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, the thing with one turn heal that I really don't like is that you don't have to play on the board whatsoever. So a whole bunch of cards of your opponent are just useless because you don't play creatures, you don't play anything other than a couple of artifacts that you don't even need to play necessarily until you got the heal combo going. Ugh, really annoying to play against.
Well, yeah, they can kill you without ever really interacting with you. It's like they just sit in their own camp,
Yeah.
and then what? Like, they just somehow win from there. At least with Triangelica, they gotta put creatures on the board you can interact with.
And then it takes so long. Like, it's just you just sit there, you slam creatures down every turn, and every turn they get removed.
Lyris is applauding your very smooth voice. He does have a smooth voice, doesn't he? He's very mesmerizing. Well, if you want to hear his voice again, I mean, all you have to do is, if it requires, oh no, especially if it requires kicking your ass, that'll be even more satisfying to listen to.
That is kind of required for me to win Masters, though. I think that happened every time I've won. I'm not sure. 2 times at least out of 3.
You have to beat up Lyris?
Yeah. Well, my teammates in general. I had to play against him and Comsiant today, so yeah, happens.
Of all the cards that were released, which one do you think is like the least interesting?
I think I need to open the client for that first, so I can see which cards exist. Off the top of my head is probably the owl.
Let's see. We didn't see any owls. We didn't see any voracious scale worm.
Yeah, that card is pretty bad. But at least scale worm is like, it could be interesting.
Yeah, I heard some people say it might be good. I was one of the ones that said, like, I think this is just terrible. Like, I know what you're going for here, right? You wanna play Hartsford, bring it back, and then maybe eat some weakness emblems. But by itself, it's just terrible. Like, if your opponent kills the creature next to it, then it just exhausts itself.
Yeah, and it's so bad in terms of like a 1/2 for 2 mana and 2 speed. Ugh. It's just I've seen the card be played, and I think like maybe 10% of the time it gets to eat an emblem. Because your opponent's gonna have some level of interaction with your, in worst case scenario,
Oh, you just spaced out again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, probably wasn't anything important.
Okay, so yeah, Voracious Owl and oh yeah, I didn't see any Shazams, even though there were some pony decks. Like, nobody had a Shazam in their deck.
Really? I think the card is good.
I mean, yeah, you just put one copy into your deck, right, and just have some slaves, and that seems easy.
So the thing here is, I actually meant to make a deck around him, but I don't really want to play that in Masters because of the pony bug. That is kind of impactful when it comes to a card like that.
The pony bug?
Yeah, when you put stuff under ponies, sometimes it makes them untargetable for the rest of the game. And that's kind of relevant.
Pony untargetable?
No, the card you put under it. So if you put him under it, and then the pony dies, and you reanimate him, he becomes he's untargetable. So
Huh.
it's a little bit impactful for that card.
Oh, that's weird. Never even heard of that.
Yeah. I don't know if it always happens or like what triggers it, but yeah, I don't really want to play that in Masters. Like Chieftain is one thing, but having an untargetable minion that comes back every single turn
Oh yeah,
and
that's not good. And has good stats.
yeah. Yeah. And like the other thing you can do is something like put the Flame Serpent under and then pull it out with the Corruption Shaman dude who reanimates 1 HP creatures, right?
Yeah.
But that's also kind of stupid when you can't target the Flame Serpent.
Well, I mean, it just kills itself at least, but yeah.
Yeah. Imagine playing a control deck against that and just have untargetable Flame Serpents thrown at your face.
Be pretty
It
sad.
doesn't really seem fair.
Well, but you have Cataclysms. I think I might have to cut this a little bit short because now I have to go.
Okay.
But it was nice. It was nice chatting. Well done on winning, and we'll see what happens next time.
Yep.
We'll see you guys
ya.
in the 43rd Masters.